Mr. Cabbage. It's Wyatt Redish doing the problem-oriented policing assignment video. If there's any audio and visual problems with this video, let me know. I'm very new to this, so I can remedy that problem for you. First things first, I kind of want to define our terms. I have the textbook with me, and I'm going to define problem-oriented policing. It's defined as an approach to policing that depends on analyzing patterns of incidents and conditions that police are expected to handle, and then developing responses based on that analysis. So the first major words you hear there, or clues you hear there, are analysis. For anyone that's conducting this kind of research for problem-oriented policing style, analysis is key. So before we can come up with the responses to a problem, such as in the simulation, the problem is prostitution. Before we can come up with the responses, we need to analyze kind of what's going on and how that crime is being committed. So in the simulation, I was required to interview the police officers in that area, the detectives, the prostitutes themselves, the johns, the pimps. I was required to, and the bartenders in that area. And I was required to do that because I was building kind of my analysis of what was going on. I also got to look at the, and this is all the things I'm naming are what things other police departments or consultants or whoever's doing the problem-oriented policing would do in their particular scenarios. I also had to look at crime reports. Who's committing the crime? What happens after they're committed the crime? How the court's handling? How are aware of this crime happening? Where's the geography? Kind of where the hot spots, right, of the crime. And that was how I built kind of my analysis around what was going on in that in the simulation. And so what I finally determined after doing all the analysis was that it wasn't the prostitution was not a cause. Prostitution was a symptom of a cause, and the cause, in my opinion, was the drug problem that had risen in that community. Most of the prostitutes were on drugs and were prostitutes to support that habit. So next, I want to talk about kind of how it's conducted in real life. That is kind of how it's conducted in real life. In the simulation, I was hired by the mayor to kind of do an outside third-party kind of consulting on the area. And in real life, it's more than likely a mayor telling a police chief, "Hey, use your beat officers, use your detectives, use your use your community leaders to analyze and gather this data, and then do something about it." Right? So that's kind of how that goes in real life. Another thing I want to talk about is kind of how understanding the research method helps police departments decide what problems should be addressed. So I was charged with picking what I thought would be the best solutions to alleviate kind of the prostitution in the area. Once I went through my analysis and determined that kind of the drug problem was the root cause, I could kind of pick the solutions that were given to me based on my analysis. So in the great thing about having like a set research method for problem-oriented policing is because it works, right? I was able to cut down on crime in the simulation because of the results that I knew were going to happen. So I knew that implementing I knew what would happen when I implemented different policies, even before I put them into my plan. And this was because of the previous research from other departments or other cities and their findings when they tried to stop, for example, like prostitution in their area. It's more of a agreement reality. So if we hear from some other city that, hey, they increased the lighting in certain areas, and in those certain areas that they increased the lighting, the prostitution dropped or the drug crime dropped, hey, okay, that makes sense to me. I agree with it. Let's maybe do that in our area. So a huge part of the research methods helping other police departments is spreading the information that works, right? So if all the police departments could see what the other police departments were doing and what worked to certain causes of different symptoms of a problem, then they could better implement similar tactics to fit kind of their own situation. So if I was a police chief and I had to do this simulation, I could think, hey, the different areas that this simulation showed me kind of how I can implement these kind of things and how I can use problem-oriented policing and kind of the research method style to do it. That's my first video. I'm about to hit 5 minutes, so I'm going to cut it. Thank you, Mr. Cabbage, and I'll make another assignment and see you later.